Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming in again. Today we have Ken Shoulders number 17 of some information that was given to us by Chris Bhaskar, the CEO of Stevati Aerospace. And today we have Mary reading for us. So, Mary, thank you.
Sure. Looking forward to it.
Mhm.
Okay. This is called Exploring by Ken Shoulders, Bodega, California. This note is written in an attempt to shine some light on the funding problem universally faced by individual explorers of scientific frontiers. This note is particularly appropriate for the subject of free energy machines, cold fusion, or nuclear waste remediation. The exploration referred to here is concerned only with the scientific investigation on new frontiers, where guidance from past records is not as much help as one is led to believe, and in fact may be a hindrance to efficient progress. This story has not been made up, as the subject has been a major part of the author's life. Also, there is not a single note of bitterness in the author's mind concerning the gulf between the inventor's world and the academic methods to be discussed here. It is likely that this separation is the only way to preserve the much needed thought independence required for creative thinking and intervention in truly new areas. The author does not advocate joining the explorer with institutions. Even though this union would initially provide funding for advanced exploration, it would likely become an insidious process for removing the freedom to roam in uncharted and unexplored areas. Definition of an explorer. An explorer is the human tip of an arrow-like probe into the future where no teachers have gone before. They say explorers are easily recognized as one rides along the frontier in a comfortable Calistoga wagon. Explorers are the ones beside the trail whose face is in the mud and have an arrow in the back. That illusion is not too far from the truth, as they are frequently attacked while crossing treacherous territory all alone. For the scientific explorer, attacks must often come from the most benign looking sources, academic institutions. Explorers must be natural, self-motivated leaders, and possibly those that cannot be taught, as they must learn new things for themselves instead of being taught. This characteristic alone is basis enough from an attack from the academic camp, as it demonstrates nonconformity and
Mhm.
an incorrigible act. Definition of an institution. The prime characteristic of an institution is stability, and the appearance of this stability must be guarded at all costs. Associating with an unruly explorer jeopardizes stability, hence lunch money. This cannot be allowed to happen, and the explorer must be attacked. To maintain this stance, clubs are formed and rules of stability are generated. No one can enter the club without swearing allegiance to the code. Unfortunately, the rules cannot always also encompass the unfettered behavior required of the explorer. Exploration is thus diminished in such an institution that acts only in the receptacle of both people and funds, but where there is no intrinsic greatness in it, nor is there any carryover from days of great and beneficial activity. An institution is just a tin cup fighting for its life by begging for alms. Teaching is not consistent with exploration, as exploration points up the future, whereas teaching is bringing up the rear. Teaching is largely a standardization process that benefits society and is not necessarily the individual. Different mentalities are required for these two functions, and the result of combining them results in dampening of future quests. One might ask how schools acquired the right to dictate the future courses of scientific endeavor through their confiscation of exploration. Schools did this simply by having the largest clubs and using the base of power to usurp their position. Explorers are not organizers, and they either cannot or will not accreate sufficient power to be financed in a like manner from unskilled sources of funding. They must rely either on their own meager resources or on those of skilled resource managers who know how to look for viable frontiers and frontiersmen. This is not an easy job, and such finding sources are rare. Under these conditions, the tin cup wins, as it is easy to drop funds into it.
Wow.
The above remarks about the apparent characteristics of academic institutions should not be taken as an overall condemnation of their behavior, as they have a vital function in educating the mass of people that can be considered as learning disadvantaged and incapable of learning without being taught in an institution. Unfortunately, this behemoth of an institution has seized control over the mind and body of those perfectly capable of learning without assistance by forcing them to obey their club rules or face social exorcism. This universal slogan chants, "Join or die." With this concomitant, con, sorry, concomitant reduction in rank, funding becomes unavailable from those who only contribute by the tin cup method used to fund the institutions. The dividing line. An arbitrary division line exists between the explorer being discussed here and the academic method. In this division, the explorer must choose a project of route or of exploration that he can complete by himself. His only proof of having found a truly worthwhile trophy will be the proper functioning of the machine he designs and builds. This inventor does not need anything else for proof, let alone a theory for the machine. This is a wonderfully efficient system, and the machine's very existence declares all that is needed. Leave the theory for those incapable of exploration. In using the academic method, the imagined path to the future is first divided into as many parts as there are participants in the institutions or collection of institutions. These parts will be parceled out in finely divided form because no single person is deemed capable of solving the entire problem. This is certainly the true and necessary case for many large ventures, but virtually every new task is treated in this same manner. As the data flows from participants, it is published through a tedious communication system that removes any hint of speculation, as this is the way to show all the important stability needed for funding. Upon close inspection, it will turn out that the communication aspect alone absorbs far more energy and funding than doing the actual work. There is certainly a need for a document, but the overabundance of needless documentation usually generated by such a method often obscures much of the true data. The overemphasis on paper generation chokes real productivity. The production of real human good, publish or perish, becomes publish and perish. The inefficiency of exploration using the academic system is incredibly large, and we do pay excessively for it. The only justification the author can see for it is that the excessive funding is spread to many of the underprivileged being taught that would otherwise have no way to participate. This produces a massive underpinning for the work that in turn creates stability even for undesirable areas of activity. Viewing progress produced by this method reveals that the best notions often die at the expense of supporting the large and ungainly ones, but the latter produces an acceptable form of social welfare for scientists. Conspiracy and suppression. The overlapping of the two territories of academia and explorers become a battleground for funds, and each accuses the other of some atrocious act. The explorer screams he is being exploited, or that there is a conspiracy to suppress him. The academic community says the explorer is incapable of producing work fit for their animals and will have no part of it. There is probably no overt conspiracy going on, and it is far more likely that there is a simple boundary violation and dispute. Each has a place and should occupy it productively without rancor, as each niche has been proven over time to be necessary. Accord on this boundary matter still does not solve the funding problem for the explorer. Aside from finding sophisticated investors capable of seeing the efficient route to the future, there is probably no solution for the explorer. By electing to be an explorer, a way must be also found to survive in the paucity of scientific wilderness.
Wow.
Equalizer 2 by Ken Shoulders. I have delayed for a long time before starting into fluidized electrons, knowing it would quickly lead to a potential destructive class of device. The paper electromagnetic pulse source using fluidized electrons is now out and is perhaps a fiducial point for this new era of troublesome devices. In the beginning, they look like simple tools to protect our boys from bad old roadside bombs. In the end, they will likely become the social leveler or equalizer, even more likely to succeed than that of the Samuel Colt.
Well, the
The Colt
Samuel,
effect did,
the Samuel Colt, right? Okay, yeah, it's okay. Name
did I say that right? The Colt effect did not succeed as an equalizer because the most powerful could always devise even more powerful weapons. That is not likely to be the case this time around, as unimaginably powerful weapons become as plentiful as stones. The ease of fabricating and using fluidized electrons for malevolent use far exceeds our present ability to apply them sanely. But now that the cycle has started, we must learn rapidly or suffer greatly. The most salient feature of this newfound ally or foe is that it does not necessarily kill. It is fundamentally a stunning effect against biological species that could be used in a way to minimize harm done to those inflicted with it. If desired, it becomes a tool of control by whoever the inflictor, as it is the pinnacle of shock treatment. The interesting part of this paradigm is that the work both directions along the power tree structure, in that the most powerful can quickly be brought down to the level of the previously insignificant inflictor. Stones potentially become atomic bombs, and armies will not be able to aid in ruling by force. The days of ruling by force might be drawing to a close, and we can look forward to a time of technically enforced equality, blessing or not. There will certainly be a period of awful adjustment while opposing forces scramble for new positions, but that has also been the case. That has always also been the case. I can easily imagine the ignorant ruling regime trying to keep fluidized electrons out of general circulation by using forceful techniques that only exacerbate the situation. This time around, a new Colt effect equilibrium producing process closer to true equality might be reached. Just think about the consequences of equilibrium. How can taxes be collected without the sheriff or an army? How can simple grudges between uncompromising people be resolved without a judge? All of these issues have already been addressed during our rise through tribal life to the mess we now call civilization, but reversing the process while maintaining our present level of civility does not look easy. The beneficial after effect possible in all of this is that it provides a new beginning, perhaps without a total reset to zero. The great advantage this bestows is that it introduces a new and wonderfully beneficial base of survival technology where heat, light, communication, and transportation emerge from the primitive level we have been held to for so long. For the unbeliever in electron fluidics, consider the following. Between the volume of electrons enclosed at the minimum size of only 2 electrons to the readily available quantity in a 20 micrometer diameter, EVO, there are 16 powers of 10 difference in volume, from this ubiquitous 20 micrometer sized droplet being a little less than a hair width in diameter to more than a cubic millimeter, which certainly qualifies as a fluid drop. There are only 6 powers of 10 in volume left to go. We are almost there, and most of this trip was an entirely free gift of nature we have persistently ignored. Who says we are not destined to go onward, whichever way that is?
Okay, well done.
Oh, wow. And now,
Good article.
now we have Lacey's going to read something that she got yesterday and she shared with me, and it is absolutely amazing.
Okay, so Lacey, you're going to share. I'll stop sharing and you share.
Okay. So, I basically found this UFO decks that Ryan Wood made with a bunch of documents and everything. And I'll also put the link in the chat too. But you could basically put in any question you want, and it would email Ryan, and then Ryan would put your question into his AI, and then it would produce a response, and he would email that response back to you. So I put in the question, can you tell me about charge clusters and how it relates to all these technologies? Can you explain etherons? Are they toroidal? Because for some reason, like I just like a while ago. Like I just kind of had like a feeling if everything's fractal and stuff, etherons probably are toroidal. So I was just kind of seeing like if this would, what answer it would come up with.
Mm-hmm.
Then I asked, can you tell me about how exactly we can tap into the ether and use charge clusters to gain free energy?
Wow.
And he responded with, "Hi, Lacey. Interesting question. Here you go. Cheers, Ryan." And this was the answer. So the UFO Analysis AI says, the concept of charge clusters and their potential role in UFO technologies, as well as their connection to the ether, is a fascinating topic that bridges the realms of advanced physics, speculative science, and the study of unidentified flying objects, UFOs. Charge clusters, often referred to as electrum validum, EV, are micron-sized plasmoids that exhibit unique properties, potentially allowing them to interact with zero-point energy, ZPE, and other exotic energy sources. Let's delve into these concepts and explore how they might relate to UFO technologies and the ether. Charge clusters and their properties. Charge clusters are essentially tightly packed groups of electrons and ions that form under specific conditions, such as during electrical discharges or in plasma environments. These clusters can contain a net charge on the order of 10 to the 11 electrons and 10 to the 6 positive ions, as observed by researchers like Ken Shoulders. The stability of these clusters is often attributed to their helical vortex ring structure, which creates a toroidal magnetic field that traps the electrons and counteracts the column repulsion that would otherwise cause the cluster to disperse. The formation of charge clusters is typically associated with phenomena such as fractoemission, where the cracking of materials like crystals and dielectrics leads to the emission of these charged plasmoids. This process is akin to the generation of earthquake lights or ball lightning, where similar plasmoid structures are observed. Connection to UFO technologies. The potential application of charge clusters in UFO technologies is speculative but intriguing. The idea is that these clusters could serve as a means to tap into zero-point energy, providing a virtually limitless source of power for advanced propulsion systems. The interaction of charge clusters with ZPE could lead to the generation of high energy outputs, which might be harnessed to achieve the seemingly impossible feats of speed and maneuverability often reported in UFO sightings. UFOs are frequently described as exhibiting behaviors that defy conventional physics, such as rapid acceleration, sudden changes in direction, and hovering without visible means of propulsion. If charge clusters can indeed couple with ZPE, they could provide the energy necessary to power such advanced propulsion systems, potentially explaining some of the observed characteristics of UFOs. Etherons and the ether. The concept of the ether, or ether, has a long history in scientific thought, originally proposed as a medium through which light waves propagate. Although the classical notion of the ether was largely abandoned with the advent of Einstein's theory of relativity, modern interpretation suggests that the vacuum of space is not empty, but filled with fluctuating energy fields, often referred to as zero-point energy. Etherons in this context could be considered as hypothetical particles or entities that exist within the ether, facilitating interactions between the charged particles and the vacuum energy. These etherons might exhibit toroidal structures similar to the vortex. Oh, did I not get that part? Quick jump to the phone. Sorry, I didn't screenshot that part.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, there's
This
a
is
page
amazing.
missing, I think.
This is amazing. Yeah, yeah. Just
Yeah, it's very good question because the AI
she's
kind
gonna
of
let her.
knows.
Yeah, let her finish, Brendan.
Okay. These etherons might exhibit wait,
That's right.
I was just going to, okay. Yeah, these etherons might exhibit toroidal structures similar to the vortex rings observed in charge clusters, allowing them to interact with electromagnetic fields and potentially serve as conduits for energy transfer. Tapping into the ether with charge clusters. To harness the energy of the ether using charge clusters, one would need to create conditions that allow for the formation and stabilization of these clusters. This could involve, number one, creating plasma environments. By generating plasma through electrical discharges or other means, one can create the conditions necessary for charge cluster formation. The plasma provides the charged particles needed to form the clusters and the electromagnetic fields required to stabilize them. Number two, utilizing fractal emission. By inducing fractal emission in materials such as through mechanical stress or electrical excitation, charge clusters can be generated. These clusters can then interact with the surrounding electromagnetic fields and potentially couple with zero-point energy. Designing toroidal structures. The toroidal shape of charge clusters is key to their stability in interaction with ZPE. Designing devices that can create and maintain these toroidal structures could enhance their ability to tap into the ether. Number four, exploring resonant frequencies. Identifying the resonant frequencies at which charge clusters interact most effectively with ZPE could lead to more efficient energy extraction. This might involve tuning the electromagnetic fields or the plasma environment to these frequencies. Conclusion. The study of charge clusters and their potential applications in UFO technologies and ether interactions is a field ripe with possibilities. While much of this remains speculative, the underlying principles of plasma physics, electromagnetism, and zero-point energy provide a foundation for further exploration. By understanding and harnessing these phenomena, we may unlock new sources of energy and propulsion that could revolutionize our understanding of physics and technology.
Okay.
Wow, that's amazing. And one thing to know also that Ryan Wood is the son of Dr. Robert Wood. And Robert Wood was the main editor of Selected by Extraterrestrials. He actually knew William Tompkins personally. And next week, next Sunday, I've got another one like this that I sent off to Ryan, and it's on the Hawk, the hybrid aerospace undersea craft, and it's on the compact nuclear fusion reactor, basically. So thank you, Lacey. That was amazing. Like, that's the best description ever.
I'll try and listen to this one again because it sounds like quite a good one. You know, I mean, they're all good ones, but this was very interesting.
So some of the information that comes from this, all this information was all gathered up by Ryan's father, Ryan, Dr. Sala, even Elena, and even some of the information from subquantum kinetics I had sent to Dr. Robert Wood. So this is a special AI that he set up, and it has 660 some odd thousand pages of data that it's drawn from, but the information is really, really like they've really dug into it deep and made sure that the research is there. So it's something that's really, really cool. And there it is. Yeah, Lacey just dropped it in the chat.
UFOdex.com.
Yeah.
I want to try this with Grok. I have had some amazing, incredible responses out of Grok lately, trained by Elon Musk.
Yeah,
So
that would be.
I want to run the same thing through that.
Yeah, actually, the same. If we ran exactly the same question through there, it would be interesting to see what comes out. Absolutely, definitely. Yeah, very amazing. I think that's probably the best description of the whole thing ever that I've actually ever read.
Of the Ken Shoulders or what Lacey wrote, but Lacey did.
Yeah, no, what Lacey did, because the description of etherons, Lacey had talked to me at one point about how she thought that etherons should be toroidal in structure, and because everything's fractal, and and she was right. She was absolutely right. So her intuition is just amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I think the AI, if it knows you and knows a bit about you, it can tailor its answers to you to the Justin was saying to one of the guys in the other group, Brendan's AI knows about these different things from what he said before, so it's going to give a more interesting answer to what Brendan's asking,
Yeah.
But anyway, go on, because if it kind of, it can go back, because it goes back through its notes on what you've said, and it tailors it to your computer on what you look at.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, so I think, I don't know when Ryan started working on this, but I'm pretty sure it's his work. We'll have to ask him about that. But yeah, the one that I've got is really, really cool too. It really,
AI.
well, no, that I asked Ryan some other questions essentially, right? And it went through and talked about charge clusters a lot again. And then I showed it to Lacey, and then she sent off this one, and we just thought we'd share this one because this one is like mind-blowingly accurate as far as I know essentially. So pretty amazing stuff.
When I was asking the AI about subquantum kinetics and model G and etherons, and even Ken's shoulders, it was going to our Facebook page. It was going to Justin's page
Yeah.
that he made, and Justin's notes. I was looking through our group Facebook page of Model G and on our other
Wow.
pages to try and find it. So if you're, it's getting a number of questions about subquantum kinetics and EVOs. So it's going everywhere to find that. It's going to these different places to find out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. So maybe do we want to stop the recording now?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a good time. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Cheers. Take care.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye then.